All right, Daily Taoist here, and I'm on number 17, and then I'm going to cut it for today. And this is of my book, The Tao of Taoism, using the Tao Te Ching to improve your daily life, in which Lao Tzu wrote a bunch of stuff in Chinese 2,000-some hundred years ago. And then a bunch of people translated it, and I thought some of these people don't really understand it. As accurate as they think they're translating it, they may not, I don't think they have quite the meaning. And then even if you do have the meaning, how do you take that wonderful saying and implement it into your life? You know, like the most beautiful tree gets cut first, you know, or the strongest tree gets cut first. Well, yeah, that makes sense. No, how do you look at that for your daily life? And that's why some people get fat and ugly, so they don't get chopped down, and they don't want to be first chosen. Or some people get extra dressed up and super fancy because they want to be first picked, you know. So you got to look at, there's a Tao in everything. So if you look at Taoism and then try to figure out how that plays into your life or your reality, then it's useful. And that's my goal, is to make it useful for you. So we're on number 17, on page 28 of my book, The Tao of Taoism, TAO, I'm spelling it, even though in Mandarin in China they say DAO, but to kind of compromise, I've got using the Tao Te Ching in your daily life to improve your daily life. I've got the DAO in the subtitle. So it's both. It's actually DAO is the correct way now. TAO is the outdated way, but in America we don't know better. Here we go, number 17, page 28. Employees/students must be as satisfied with their work as employers/teachers are with the results. There's an interesting harmony. Okay, so the employees must be as satisfied with their work as their employers are with their results, and the students should be as satisfied with their work as the teachers are with the results. See that balance there? There's a balance going on, that harmony. So remember, Taoism is about harmony, or finding disharmony, so you can go back to harmony, because harmony always works better. You can use disharmony for certain purposes, but it's like friction, you know, or pain, something you don't really want to have. Okay, here we go. Do you enjoy being productive, and how? Do you enjoy being productive, and how? Is your current job your career? Explain how it is part of your path. Remember, your path is your long-term life plan, or at least the next 10-year plan. Because we should really plan our lives in 10-year chunks, because by the time you get to that end of that 10 years, what you thought you might want to do in 20 years, which is now 10 years ahead, might be totally different. So 10 years is a better way to plan. I mean, think 20, 30, 40, like me. Fortunately, I've done Kung Fu since 1980, and it's 2020. So 40 years of Shaolin Kung Fu has kind of made me a healthier, happier guy than most people my age. So think ahead a little bit. But even then, I wasn't thinking ahead to that extent. You know, I really wasn't. I was just thinking, this is my path. I put it in my path that's always felt right. And so by being a Taoist, by being in harmony, I knew I was making the right decisions. And sure enough, I can say 40 years later, yeah, I was making the right decision. Made a lot of the right decisions too. And I made wrong decisions, and I knew it at that time, but I can tell you now, and I can explain why. Anyway, here we go. Do you enjoy satisfying your employers, and how? When I say employers, it could be teachers, so just interject teacher where employer is. And if I say worker, that could be student. Do you enjoy satisfying your employers, and how? How are you maturing in your current job? How are you maturing in your current job? Now, I don't know how much I should be interjecting here. The five souls theory has totally messed up my perspective of reality, because I've come to realize that women, remember my five soul concept, if you've been following along here, hopefully you didn't just jump in here at this point. According to my five soul concept, 80% of all people or more are just the woman soul and the worker soul. You can kind of think of it as male, female, but they're not distributed sexually. In other words, a woman can be born with the worker soul in the first position and the woman soul in the second. So in her case, she's going to be happier working than hanging out with the kids. Now, another woman might be born with the woman soul in the first position and the worker soul here, and she'd be happy working in a daycare center or working with kids, you know. But the other one wants a real job. Sorry, not a real job, but a normal job like you'd think of to make a lot of money. It doesn't have anything to do with the family. Okay, now a man can be born with a woman's soul in the first position and a worker in the second. So the man who's a worker soul, he's never really going to be happy about his job. He's always going to be complaining. He'll just be like that the whole life. So he should find a kind of job where nobody minds if he complains, and he's just happily going to complain for the rest of his life and get a paycheck. That's fine. And he's got a worker soul to kind of keep him going. Yeah. Keep complaining. Go to work. Okay, so that's fine. Now, what if it's a worker soul, then a woman's soul? Well, in this case, the worker's not going to complain. He might have a little bit more ambition, be able to go farther. He cannot be a manager, though. This is what I didn't know until just the last few years, is that I thought that a worker could just be educated and mentally conditioned and be trained into being a manager, but no. I've worked with all kinds of people in my nonprofit, and I've come to realize that is not true. Some people, if they don't have that, even with that worker soul, they are still a worker. And even if you give them a management position, they just want to be paid and go home and not worry about the job. They don't have the management attitude, which is the owner's, like taking responsibility for it, like a child adopting the business. They still just want to work, just a higher capacity. So that's still a worker, not a management person. They can be a foreman, but not a manager. Okay, so anyway, when I look at these questions, I have a whole different perspective on them. So when you answer them, I have a different way of analyzing them. But here, let's just go with this, because I wrote this, 30 years ago. Here we go. What jobs do you waste your time and talent, or do you do that waste your time and talents? So what jobs are you doing that just, you're wasting your time or your talents? Maybe there's none. What are your reasons for keeping the job that you do have? Okay, so whatever job you have now, why are you going to keep it? Why would you keep it rather than quit? What are your reasons to quit the job you have? So if you were to quit it, what would be your reasons? Besides a job, how else could you earn a living? Marry well. I'd recommend that a whole lot. I came from a generation that threw marriage out, so that option wasn't really conditioned into me. But when I was an artist, and even when I was a Freemason, a lot of the Freemasons said, you just need to marry well. They're trying to hook me up with some Freemason widows. The Freemasons all take care of their widows. If you're a Freemason and you die, the Freemasons will always watch out for your ex-wife. They'll make sure she's fed. They'll check on her. They have weekly things, and they have annual things where they call in all the widows and, give them a chance to socialize and maybe find a new husband or something like that. So anyway, that's an old thing that goes back for thousands of years. And then the Freemasons kind of in 1717 kind of codified all this stuff and made it a standardized process. So all Masons would kind of be good to widows. So just saying, marrying is a good, sorry. I said I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt again. Besides a job, how else could you earn a living? Okay, if you could be paid to do anything that you want to do, what would you do? Hey, I got a bunch of answers to that, but what's your answer? If you could be paid to do anything, if I said, okay, I'll pay you $200 a day, $300 a day. That's not a real lot of money, but maybe a lot more than you're used to, more than I'm used to. If I was to give you $300 a day to work for me for 8 hours, what would you do? How would I get my money's worth out of you? Do you feel guilty when you don't have a job? So if you're not working, but you want to be working, but you can't seem to be working, do you feel guilty because you're not working? What talents do you possess or desire to develop which could possibly be profitable? Okay, so remember, this is I wrote this for my students. So in a way, I'm kind of like helping nurture and look for any artists out there. I've since learned that I don't want to push people into art. Even my own kids, I pushed them in to be artists, but they weren't artists. And so it was good that they got that art training. I'm never going to regret giving it to them. But I just didn't realize that it wouldn't stick. So that was an interesting thing to learn. But if some of your talents did stick, what are they? What talents do you possess or desire to develop which could possibly be profitable? And maybe you're wrong, but go ahead and dream. Answer that question. Hey, it's been 9 minutes. I'm going to get out here before the 10-minute mark at least. See ya. Daily Taoist here, Buddha Zhen. Hey, go to ShaolinInteractive.com and sign up for $998, I think, which is actually cheaper. These guys sell computer courses for $1,000 is like the starting price. So anyway, for $1,000, and you're going to get 1 year of training, and you send me videos, and then it's as much as it's going to be the next best thing to being with me. It might even be better than being with me. You get the video, and you can do it with that class over and over instead of trying to remember what I taught you. So anyway, ShaolinInteractive.com, Buddha Zhen, the Daily Taoist.